Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Director and Senior Global Legal Counsel for ASM International, Mr. Todd Westersund.
Good morning. Rebecca and Stephanie stated a lot of the same issues that I've gone through with Agiloft over the last, I think, 5 years now. I've been going through the contract management process. Go to the next page. I'm from ASM International. We're a Dutch-based semiconductor equipment manufacturer. We're multinational, heavy presence in US, Asia, Europe. We're relatively small. We have 4 attorneys in-house as of a couple days ago. We were 3, so I'm happy with that. Gets me a little bit more time to do other things like Agiloft. We have one type of legal assistant in Singapore, so we're spread out around the world. So one thing Agiloft is really good is tying us together. We're in 4 different countries at all times, and this allows us to see what everybody's doing around the world. Starting 5 years ago, we were looking for a contract management system. Same issues, emails all the time. Where's our NDA? Please create an NDA for us. And it just got out of hand. We needed something to automate the process. We had a simple database, but it wasn't accessible to our people. They always had to email us and ask us to look up things for them and tell us when contracts were expiring and other reminders like that. So NDAs, I'll talk a little bit more about that, but NDAs is really what we focused on, keep it simple in the beginning, then we moved on to other types of contracts. NDAs, in our case, probably 95% of all our contracts. Not the most complicated contracts in the world, but it is a workload nightmare. Why we chose Agiloft in the end? About 3 years ago, we narrowed it down to about 3 different companies. To reflect on what others have said, it's the configurability, the program really caught on to me. Being able to not have to code things through outside consultants every time I want to make a little change. At this point, we've implemented probably a couple years ago, and we can make those little changes to our system, modify a template, things like that very easily. Relatively low cost compared to some of the other competitors, particularly what Agiloft could do for us and some of the future abilities to connect to other systems in the end. We also, in the legal department, we're concerned about security of our contracts. We have some very large customers that we sell to, the IC manufacturers of the world, around the world. So we needed an on-premise solution, which Agiloft offered. It has its issues. I think cloud probably would have been easier with updates and things like that, but it's worked out well in the end. One of our key focus, my general counsel's key focus was make this very simple. He'd had nightmares of implementing some larger systems at a larger company, and people just ended up not using the system. So we tried to keep it all streamlined. We started by redoing our entire intranet page for our legal site, put Agiloft as a link there. Everybody has to go through that site. That explains what Agiloft is, what it does, what kind of contracts you can get through the system. Single sign-on is a very great system. People don't have to have a separate password to sign onto the system. It's all built in. It's the same password and username that they log in every day with their laptop. Active Directory was also a great thing. We have, probably 30 people a week starting with our company or leaving our company. As soon as IT loads those people into their system, it automatically goes into our system and has a default profile. Like I said, we focused on NDAs at first. So everybody in the company, 2,500 people, can create an NDA out of the box as soon as they start in their first day of the company. All employees can view supplier NDAs, not quite as a security issue with suppliers, whereas our customers, we use a lot of the profiles to set up very secure systems on who can see what. One of our, we have major competitors as our customers, and the salespeople of one cannot see what the contracts of the other customer. Sorry, wrong way. You all recognize, if you've started, this is the standard end user portal. We tried to, once again, keep it simple. We've, over the last year or so, we've done some tweaks to give them more power, more advanced searching abilities, and things like that, so they can actually find contracts a little bit easier. Everybody that creates a contract can always see that contract in the future, so that's great, so they can see what they've done, and they can also see what they have permission to see. On the lower left corner, we've also added some frequently asked questions, which are what we've used for a lot of our SOPs, standard operating procedures of how to create contracts and things like that. So this puts it all in one place, not just on our website. Implementation, like I said, we started with NDAs just because it's the biggest bang for the buck, the largest volume of contracts, and relatively simple. And most of our employees use them also. And we wanted to start with that because we want to make sure the system worked before we rolled it out to, sales agreements, supplier agreements, purchasing agreements, things like that, which we've done in the last couple of years. So once we had that all done and perfect, we were able to launch other products. One thing we did uniquely was for a lot of our supplier NDAs, we have a pre-signed NDA in the system. So it's already signed by legal, it's been reviewed, it's PDF'd by Agiloft. We use the built-in e-signature program using DocuSign in the system. That sends it automatically to our supplier. No legal review needed in the system because it's PDF'd, it can't be changed. And once the supplier signs, it's automatically a contract. It's loaded back into Agiloft, which is great. So that reduced our workload greatly. NDAs are fairly similar. We check it quickly, but most of the time our assistant can do that by herself. So the amount of time that we save by having attorneys look at things has been greatly reduced, and we can focus on more important contracts. And I'll show you also conditional questions. One other unique thing we've done is, let's see if it's, so this is standard NDA creation, if you want an NDA or pre-signed NDA. We also have a restricted NDA for a lot of our customers. They give us very top secret, chip things, what their designs are and plans are for the future. We want to keep those very restrictive, and when we give suppliers things, we also want to keep that restrictive. So what we needed to do was have ability to pre-question everybody that requests a standard NDA. By answering these 5 questions, these are really important things for our company, our crown jewels, things that touch the process, things that touch the wafer that goes to our customer. So basically, if they say yes, then they're not going to get an NDA, they're going to get a restricted use NDA instead. If they say no, then they can get the one they asked for in the first place. So this really saved us a lot of time, because every time we got an NDA request, we'd have to say, well, do you need a runda instead? So this automated the process greatly. User friendliness, that was my boss's #1 goal. Make sure it's dummy proof, it's people can understand and easily get through the process. We did extensive user testing before we got live with the system, so around the world, different types of users, and made sure everything worked, and made quite a few changes to make sure it was all smooth. Like I said, we made standard operating procedures, which we now put on the end user interface. Make it simple, screenshots, point here, click this button. One other unique thing we did was Agiloft has a standard contract creation screen. we wanted to make that a little bit easier to follow for our people by hard coding in steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, using our lingo, our information, so that people could understand how to get through the Agiloft creation process a little easier. And a lot of automating, moving to next screens and things like that, so make it as simple as possible. More just keeping it simple, keeping the information as much as possible. So we spent a lot of time trying to create the messaging that goes out to our internal customers and also the external customers. So example email, we approve the contract, it's been submitted through the system, legal's approved it, kicks out an automatic email to our internal customer, what to do next. Send it to the outside, have them get it signed, or have them send us a red line for a review. And of course, contact information if they don't understand what's going on. PSNDAs, same process, creating the PSNDAs. Like I said, we use DocuSign in our case as the e-signature program. Make sure the message is, this is going to the outside, to our suppliers and other third parties. Want to make sure it's clear how to use DocuSign. It's pretty simple, but we want to make sure that they know what to do if they're authorized to sign, or they need to transfer it to somebody that is authorized to sign within their company. And of course, contact information with legal if they need help. And just summarize, some of the benefits we've seen. Easier access was one of our big issues. Like I mentioned, do we have an NDA in place? Our supply chain wanted to make sure that they had an NDA with all suppliers in place. This was very difficult with our old manual system. Expiration reminders are a great thing. We don't have to, legal doesn't have to review thousands of contracts and see what's expiring every quarter. This is all sent automatically to the person that created the contract. So we're copied, but we don't have to, don't have to forward that email to somebody else and follow up. It's all done by the system, which has saved us a lot of time. What else? Standardization, yes, using templates has been great. As a large company around the world, we had templates all over the place. Japan's doing something different from Korea and Europe. This finally is one point of contact, where to get the template, which one's the right one, and it can't be modified or anything else. It's not something that was used 5 years ago. Process control, we're in legal. We want to see what we're doing. It's much easier now to see what type of clauses we have in the contracts. We can see what's in the system now, and we truly have one depository for all our contracts. So I think, overall, we've been very happy with the system. It's been in place, like I said, to about 2 years now, and we're quite happy with how it's saved. We probably would have had to hire more people if we didn't have this. So thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Todd.